We could probably start with best costume design because like that's the first category where it's like we've actually seen these movies.
That's true. We haven't seen documentary, feature, or short subjects.
I voted for those because they sounded right.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
exactly.
That is
sounded
exactly the mentality. That sounds like it'll win.
So best costume design. I'm gonna start. I
Okay.
picked Little Women.
I'm gonna jump in. I also picked Little Women.
All right.
That's my second one. I
that doesn't
picked Jojo Rabbit because it's very, very well costumed.
So I picked Little Women because I think the costumes look very appropriate for the period, and
Yep.
I think they're very fun. They're very dynamic. There's a lot going on to them. Like there's one where like Florence Pugh is wearing like this nice like animal. I don't know what it is, but it's white and it's fur and it looks really comfortable.
I'm also thinking that Phantom Thread won for costume design, and it was a similarly perioded movie with similar
Yep.
dresses and stuff
Yes.
like that. So I feel like the Academy is a little bit partial to this. So I'm picking Little Women.
See, I picked Jojo Rabbit because for that time period in the World War II Germany, it looks very, very great. Like it looks like a historical piece, but it's a little bit brighter and fun because of the tone of the movie, and I really, really like that. I think it matches the tone well, but also still fitting the period.
Yeah,
That's actually a good point.
that's a good point.
Cinematography. So I picked 1917.
I also picked 1917. No, you didn't, Jake. You picked The Lighthouse.
Oh, you're right. I picked The Lighthouse.
I picked 1917.
I picked 1917.
I'm changing my pick.
All right.
Yeah, it's locked in.
Is it locked in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll
locked in.
respect
Locked
that.
in
Before
one-
the show today.
I will respect that.
All right. It's a movie that's filmed to look like it's one take. That's some serious cinematography.
It's a movie that's looked like it's filmed in one take. That's some great cinematography, and I absolutely loved it. You can tell where the cuts are if you like pay any attention at all.
If you know
But,
anything
like,
about editing, you know where they
yeah.
are.
But at the same time, while watching, because I was so like invested in what was going on, I didn't care.
Yeah.
It was just like,
also,
oh, this is a
it's
movie.
not best editing. It's best cinematography.
Yes, exactly.
So first of all, the cinematography in Lighthouse is, as we all agree, fantastic.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
However, the real passionate reason behind this is because Lighthouse got nominated for no other awards or categories.
That's why it's my number 2. I wanted to
Yeah.
win really
also
So-
my number 2.
Exactly. So I picked it all out, balls to the walls pick, because this should have been nominated for both acting categories for Robert Pattinson and Willem
and
Dafoe.
Best Picture.
And
And Best
screenplay.
Picture easily. Screenplay, all kinds of big awards. And it got
Absolutely.
nominated for one. So I am completely standing this one category for this thing. I know it's not going to win, and you guys are definitely going to take it.
Yeah.
That's
Sorry.
okay though.
I hate the Academy. But
We all do.
Best makeup and hairstyling, I'm picking Bombshell.
We all picked Bombshell.
We all picked Bombshell.
Charlize Theron looks just like Megan Kelly.
Exactly.
100%.
That's it.
If
That's
we
my
had
sole
a
reason.
second pick, I'd probably go Judy because it's also a real life person.
I would also go Judy.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I picked Joker because it got nominated for 11 things, and maybe it will win more than none of them.
Fair point.
I actually think I might have shut Joker out aside from like one category.
I think I did Best Actor because I think he did a fantastic job. But
I
we'll
think
get there
I
when we get
did
there.
Best score?
We'll get there when we get there. But
no.
yeah, no, the makeup in Bombshell, especially John Lithgow as well. He looks
Terrifying.
just. Everyone looks just like the people that they're trying to portray. It's actually so wild to like look at the side by side comparisons. There was,
Yeah, yeah.
I saw like a PowerPoint thing.
We haven't
side by
seen-
side comparisons. It was absolutely fantastic.
We haven't
Yeah.
seen short films. So best film editing, I'm going Ford Ferrari.
I selected, I believe, Joker.
Yep.
I did The Irishman.
All right, different
'cause
picks.
This movie is slapping.
So I guess I'll start. I'll go with Ford Ferrari. I think the editing is inherent to what makes the movie so fun and great and actually really enjoying to watch, but also a really interesting character study. I think a lot of the editing in, especially the car racing sequences, play up the drama, and if it weren't for that editing, it would not be as strong.
100%, 100%. I went with The Irishman mostly because of how the film is structured and edited together, making the cohesive story via the use of flashbacks and the de-aging. I think is absolutely fantastic, and I think that it will end up taking it just because of that alone.
I picked Joker because I think this film is a masterful rendition of how to tell a story through editing. There are so many scenes where like the audience has to understand what's going on through the editing because the Joker is an unreliable narrator, and I think this movie does that perfectly.
Okay. I think this is the kind of category where like any of these could really.
Oh,
take.
100%.
It's really
Except for
tough.
Jojo Rabbit, apparently none of us picked it.
None of us picked.
Hey, that's what wins. Oh, it's a three-way tie. Sorry.
Best production design, I'm going with Jojo Rabbit. I think they recreated the era of that time period really effectively, but also, like Ian was saying, in that lighter, fun, comedic way, but also
100%.
really accurate to a lot of the things that were happening in that time period. So I'm really enjoying how that movie portrayed that.
No, 1917.
1917.
It's they No Man's Land.
Listen,
Oh, the No Man's Land scene and the scene in that French city.
Yep, both perfect.
Oh my goodness!
you guys
that
are probably
French-
taking this again. Not gonna
the
lie.
French ruins in that scene are absolutely phenomenally done. That's why I picked it. That scene, like just by itself, I was like, oh yeah, no, that's production design to the max.
I'm
right
doing
there.
a big gamble picking the outlier here.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
Best sound mixing, we all picked Ford Ferrari.
Well, that's because it deserves to win.
Best sound editing, all picked Ford Ferrari.
That's okay.
Before we just blow past these two sections, let me talk. The sound editing and mixing in this film, to speak to what Jake said about its, I believe you said editing. Yeah, makes this movie. You feel that engine roar during those race sequences. It's not just simple like it's dirty. It's bassy.
Or
It's
how
what
about-
a racing car sounds like?
Yeah, it's-
How about when like those brakes were like getting red hot and heating
Yeah,
up?
and you can hear the screech.
Yep.
It's good.
It's a beautiful
great.
sound.
The way this movie during the races is told is all through the sound of the cars and none of what's actually happening.
I'm just
And
gonna say
British Christian Bale screaming Britishisms.
Yes.
I'm just gonna say I think both of these categories are a complete wash.
Oh,
There's
100%.
just one winner.
I think Ford vs Ferrari. If it doesn't take both of them, I'll actually be mad.
Yep.
That's
I
how
will
good,
be floored.
That's how good
Like,
it is.
I'm sorry, like I don't think Joker even deserves to be nominated in these categories. It's sound editing
Hey,
and
the
mixing is
footstep
fine.
Foley was great. They sounded like people walking sometimes.
Best yeah.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Best original score, I'm going with Joker.
I also went with Joker.
Best original score. Sorry, I accidentally scrolled. I think I went with Little Women.
You did.
Good, because its score is the best out of them, all of these. I went with Randy Newman and Thomas Newman at first because it's funny.
It is.
But the score for Little Women is so good. It's not even funny. That's one of the Mud. When you were talking about a couple of the movies, you're like, I don't even remember the score of these movies. I still remember the score of Little Women, and it's just like classical music. It's very, very like fitting. Every single piece of music fits with the tone, and it has the lighter for the past, and then the darker, like slower for the present. And I think it's very, very well done in helping convey the story, but not overpowering the story.
I picked the Joker because I feel like this score, for some reason, online is getting a lot of buzz. Not for some reason, it's deserved because it's a great score and it fits the movie really well. But there's a lot of people online talking about how great the soundtrack to Joker is specifically.
Yeah, they
so
played
I'm,
Rock and Roll Part 2.
That means it's good.
so I'm factoring that into my pick. So I'm picking Joker for that.
I picked solely because, as Ian can attest, I have a really bad problem with actually paying attention to scores in movies. And Joker was honestly the only one I really was like, man, I remember what that movie sounded like.
You know what, guys? It'll probably just be 1917 in this category too.
Probably.
Every category.
I don't remember the score. That's why I didn't pick it. But like,
I also don't.
I don't remember the score. It was very silent. That movie's very quiet.
it is.
I listen to the movie scores because I'm a really big music person to movies. If the music in a movie is distracting or overpowering, I feel like it dampens scenes because you're.
Oh, you mean Uncut Gems?
If you are trying to make me feel something with the music, but that's overpowering the scene, I'm not paying attention to the scene anymore, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
That means the scene's bad.
Best original song. I'm gonna go with Frozen 2 Into the Unknown.
I did. Me and Mud both picked the one from Rocket Man.
Now I like the Rocketman one
Oh,
better
it's
than
so good.
the rest.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think.
yeah.
Here's
But
my soapbox.
I'm going to say that the Academy will probably pick Frozen 2 because it's Disney.
All right, I'm getting on my soapbox.
Go ahead.
Rocket Man has been snubbed this year.
Oh, no.
And deserves so many more nominations than it got. Taron Egerton deserved a nomination for Best Actor. There should have been something for Best Editing because the editing in that movie is
editing in the
amazing.
movie's amazing.
The one-take Saturday night sequence. Crocodile Rock. Come on.
Yes.
I
did.
I am floored with how ignored Rocket Man is this year. When Bohemian Rhapsody gets nominated for
7
Best
things.
Picture,
Yeah.
Yep.
it's bull.
And this blows Bohemian out of the water easily.
Yeah.
I said it last year when we were reviewing it. If Bo Rap deserved to be nominated, Rocket Man deserves to win.
I picked it because it won the Golden Globe.
That too.
Mud just went on like a 2-minute rant. I went, hey, what song won the Golden Globe? And I was like, oh yeah, that one's really good. And I listened to all of them, and I'm like, this is the only one I actually like. So
I mean, that is yes and. Yes and.
this is the only one I like. I picked the Frozen 2 one for the exact reason Jake did. Oh, Disney, Frozen 2, people like
Yep.
that.
I picked both the Disneys as my 1 and 2 picks.
Yeah.
because of that reason. Best animated feature. My first pick is Toy Story 4. Klaus got a lot of awards attention though, so I probably would have switched it, but I can't. So Toy Story 4. I think that's Disney, and the Academy is going to honor Disney, how great Disney is.
I went with How to Train Your Dragon because it was very, very good.
I also went with How to Train Your Dragon because I feel like this is to get a little hyperbolic, this is the Lord of the Rings Return of the King of the How to Train Your Dragon trilogy, where I think they've all been nominated for Best Picture, and now it's going to win.
Fair point.
The way you put that, I was like, what's he going with on this?
It
and I
is
was
the-
like, oh yeah, no,
Lord
he's
of the Rings
right,
1
but-
and 2 all
It is
got
that
nominated.
of this trilogy.
Yeah.
I'll give him that. That's
It's the
He's
third
definitely
one.
correct.
They're all great, and now they're going to be like, all right, now you've earned your shot.
All right, I guess you can win now.
We didn't see animated shorts. Best international. All right.
Parasite.
we all picked Parasite because it's going to win.
It's nominated for Best Picture. I have a bit of a soapbox on this. If this does not win international feature,
The category's a joke.
the category is a joke, and whatever does win should have been nominated for Best Picture.
I agree.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's a moot category. It's like when Up was nominated for Best Picture.
And Best Animated.
Yeah, why would it not win Best Animated?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a sham.
It-
I don't
Or,
understand.
This
to-
is
to get
Roma-
on that. It's like how Honeyland is in Best International and Best Documentary.
Yeah,
Like,
it is
Yeah.
an international documentary. Like,
if it's good enough to be nominated as a regular film outside of the specific documentary category, and then it doesn't win documentary, by that logic,
It is
the
not
films
the
that are in
best.
documentary should be in Best Picture.
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
Best International.
Yes,
Absolutely.
And that's exactly how it should work. If Parasite doesn't win, then it's not Best Picture worthy.
exactly, it should
Yeah.
not be nominated for Best Picture.
Which,
Whatever
by the way, it
win.
should be nominated for Best Picture. I'm going to throw
It
that out
should,
there
it
right
should.
now. It's
Absolutely.
amazing.
Should.
Absolutely, it's fantastic. Oh, we also picked it because it's the only one we saw and we all love it.
Yeah.
Aside from that,
Parasite,
Best VFX.
amazing. Best visual effects.
All of us went with Irishman.
Okay, but the de-aging is so good.
True. If it's what my personal taste is, I'd probably lean towards more Endgame or even maybe Star Wars had a lot of perfect effects. But Irishman, the way they de-aged them is truly spectacular, and the Academy does love this movie.
It's only terrifying a couple times.
Yes.
Well, yeah, but I want to go on a soapbox. You guys both did it. It's my
Go
turn.
ahead.
So with best visual effects, I've made the mistake in the past of doing the movie where I think it is the best.
Yeah, you
Yep.
can't play that game.
It's hard.
You can't play that game. It's not the most visual effects. It's the best visual effects, and I feel like the movies with the most are Star Wars, Endgame, and even The Lion King is all visual effects.
It's 100% visual effects, yes.
It's not even a live action movie at this point.
Yep.
The Irishman is almost flawless with the visual effects. And the de-aging tells a story as well, like I've mentioned previously. And that alone, I feel like, is going to be what the Academy looks at. For one, they're already loving this movie because it's great. But they're going to be like, oh, no, the de-aging, yeah, here's the award. There you go, Martin. Have it.
Exactly.
Imagine if he loses to Avengers Endgame here.
Or he'd be... That's... I low-key want it to happen because he's going to be so mad.
That would be hilarious.
Because he's like, Netflix movies shouldn't be in. Boopy, boopy.
That's
But
But
no,
1970
that's Steven Spielberg.
Oh,
the
I'm sorry.
Irishman is a Netflix movie.
Steven Spielberg, 1917 can release in half of one theater for 4 minutes, but the Netflix movies can't get a 2-week release. Yeah, all right, Steven,
Yeah,
calm down
doesn't make
there,
any
buddy.
sense.
Martin Scorsese says that
Superhero movies are bad.
Yeah.
I want. What if Joker wins Best Picture over The Irishman?
That's not a superhero movie.
Yeah, but that's what he's complaining about.
That'd be wicked funny.
It'd be
Best
hilarious.
adapted screenplay. We all have varied picks.
I think
I'm-
this is the first category where we're all on something different.
Exactly. I'm going Jojo Rabbit. I think that the Academy is really behind this movie and it's going to win a lot of awards, and I think this is one of them. That's it.
I went with the two popes. Now I'm going to preface. I didn't see this movie.
I did. We did.
I also did.
Yeah.
Great
I
script.
feel
Great,
like
yeah.
it didn't get nominated for a lot, but the categories it did get nominated for are all huge categories. Actor, supporting actor, screenplay, and I think maybe even one more thing that I'm not remembering off the
Yep.
top of my head.
Yeah, something.
It honestly, I watched a couple of scenes because I wanted to at least get a little bit of bearing about it. And I can't lie, Anthony Hopkins and Jonathan Pryce were both fantastic. And I'm actually kind of mad I didn't get to watch it. But I wanted to go with this because it's completely different. It is a completely off-the-board thing. It got nominated for a couple major categories, and I think this might be the one it ends up taking.
Nice. I went with Little Women.
very
I've
good.
never read the book Little Women. I want to
It's
preface
good.
with that. I've heard it's good. But I was reading up on the changes that were made to the narrative, which would be the adaptation. And I was like, wow, I think the movie does this way better by changing when Joe does this or when Beth does that, you know? I was like, that makes this story flow so much better. And the meta-narrative of Joe writing the book at the end of the movie,
Yeah.
so much just so much payoff for her character. So that's why I picked Little Women.
Before we move on, can I ask you guys what is your favorite adapted screenplay in this category? Mine is easily Irishman.
JoJo.
JoJo.
That's tough.
I bought Caging Skies, the book that JoJo is based off
Really?
of, and I'm gonna read it. Yeah.
Nice.
Either The Irishman or JoJo, probably. I also really like Little Women, though. It's hard to pick one because Little
It
Women,
is.
the book, from when I read it, it's a good book. It's not like a.
I think it's a stacked category this year.
It's not a masterpiece. It's a literature masterpiece. It actually technically is. This category is really tough. I could tell you what my least favorite one is. It's the one I didn't see that I voted for. So
I'll give you credit for that.
it's like actually voting. I didn't know anything about them. I just picked this guy.
Exactly. Best original screenplay. We all picked Parasite because
It
it is a
deserves it.
banger.
It's Parasite.
Yep.
All right. Here's the
I'm
thing.
pretty sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's also all of our personal favorites originals.
Oh my God, yeah. I
Yes.
think it's the best out of all
I'm
these
going with
movies.
it,
So if Parasite wasn't on this list, which movie do you think would win?
Oh.
And I don't even think my number
Knives
two.
Out.
Would win. I'm going Marriage Story.
Yeah, that's what we all picked for number two.
No, I picked Knives Out.
He picked Knives
No,
Out.
yeah, that's what we all picked for our number two. You picked the movie for your number two.
Oh, I thought you were
and
saying
then-
we all
yeah.
picked Marriage Story.
No, I feel like this category is also kind of stacked because they're all really good movies.
They are.
It
All
is.
5 of these are absolute bangers.
There's a couple of categories where I'm just like, yeah, any of these could win, and there's a couple where I'm like, oh, this is the definite winner.
Yeah, I
it's very,
agree.
very weird
Yep.
to think like, oh yeah, no, this, yeah.
It's the second year in a row where international feature film's been nominated, and it still exists as a category.
Instead of best Roma, it's now best Parasite.
Best
Yeah.
Parasite.
I saw like an
wash.
article. This article was talking about like, will win, could win, should win, and should have been nominated. And when it got to international feature, there was no
should win. It's nominated for best picture.
No. It was when it got to best. When it got to best international, and it was should have been nominated. It just said you're a fool if you think anything other than Parasite's gonna win.
Absolutely.
Well, they're correct.
100%. All right, guys, we're getting into the big categories now.
The big 5.
Best
And
director. We all picked 1917 Sam
Pick
Mendes.
Shawn Mendes.
Not Shawn Mendes.
I have
the
a
singer.
lot of respect for Bong Joon-ho and
I do as
Parasite.
well, yep.
He did an amazing job.
Yep.
That being said, Sam Mendes made a war movie, a war epic. That
He made
looks
it
like
interesting.
It's one shot.
And I'll
Yeah.
tell you this, with almost the exact same nominees, he won Best Director at the Directors Guild.
Yep.
So
And-
I'm standing this. I think this is it.
I think so I'm not a big war movie guy. I actually think most of them are incredibly boring, and it's just not my genre of film. This was so well done and interesting. I had to vote for it. It's like when you're critiquing something, you have personal bias, obviously. And my personal bias is, oh, war movie, more like boring, because most of the time it's just real
Did you
life.
even see Midway?
This is for Pearl. But like most of the war movies I've seen just aren't that interesting, or they'll have like a couple of cool elements, but it's just the same, drivel and schlock. And this was so interesting. And yeah, I understand the one shot thing's a gimmick, but it's an awesome one. It's crazy cool and
Takes a
very
lot to
well
do
made.
that gimmick.
It takes a lot. He deserves it just off of the pure effort required to make the movie good that I feel like he did.
I agree.
Absolutely. I also want to throw it over to personals. Who do you think did the best job directing?
I think
Sam or Bong
I
Joon-ho?
think Shawn Mendes did. Yeah.
Still Sam?
Like honestly, probably a tie between Sam and Bong.
Fun fact though, I put Scorsese as my second one because The Irishman is awesome.
I think the best director for me, 1917 too, but also Parasite.
Yeah.
And Bong, yeah. What Quentin Tarantino though? This one's stacked.
Quentin
so-
Tarantino, this is a
so
stacked category
stacked.
because every single Tarantino movie I watch has so much depth. But this one, I don't think this one deserves to win.
I think Once isn't his strongest movie.
It's definitely not. Most of the Tarantino movies I've seen, every scene really matters, and this is one of the first ones that I've seen where not every scene matters.
Yep.
They're interesting. but
They're
not-
interesting, but they don't matter. Most of the Sharon Tate stuff just doesn't matter. It's wild.
It's
Okay.
true.
Best supporting. We're getting into the acting.
I love this category because the one movie we didn't see, no one voted for.
Exactly. So,
Richard
best
Jewell.
supporting actress. I personally picked Marriage Story Laura Dern. She won a lot of the other categories that she was nominated in with a lot of the other guilds. So I'm going with her because I think she's going to win.
That's understandable. I picked Scarlett Johansson because in Jojo Rabbit because she did the thing where she made a beard and pretended to be his dad and yelled at him. And it was very good.
So, to add on to that, I ultimately, when it comes to these acting awards, I always come down to playing what I consider their best scene in the movie in my head.
Yep.
And deciding which one I like the most. And Ian, exactly what you're talking about. I played, Laura Dern in Marriage Story. I played Margot Robbie in Bombshell, Florence Pugh in Little Women, and then I got to Scarlett Johansson screaming at JoJo, and I was like,
Yeah. That's a
that was
good
the scene for me where I was like, oh my god, Scarlett Johansson. I did not realize what a powerhouse you were, so I went with Scarlett.
When it comes to the set, like picking this category for me, I was really, really torn between the two people I actually voted for. The one thing that made me pick Scarlett Johansson over Florence Pugh is she did better in Midsommar.
That's true. She did way better in Midsommar. Also, on top of that, Laura Dern, while it's my pick, is not my personal choice. I would probably go
Kathy Bates.
For Richard Jewell.
Yeah, absolutely.
The world will know his name and the
I'd
truth.
probably go
Pick a
Margot
tagline.
Robbie or ScarJo. I don't know yet. One of those two.
I think Margot Robbie did a great job, but she was overshadowed by the other people. in the
That was
movie.
my
was.
1 and 2 is
Yeah, it
ScarJo
was.
and then Margot Robbie.
She was definitely overshadowed by Charlize Theron and oh god,
Nicole Kidman.
Nicole Kidman, Aquamom is what I almost just said.
Got him.
She's the mom in Aquaman. I'm not wrong, but I forgot her name for a
Why
second.
are you booing me?
Why are you booing me? I'm correct.
Best Supporting Actor. Mud and I both first picked Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I picked. It's not Al anymore.
It's
Dunk.
It's
He
Jimmy Hoffa.
Was great as Jimmy Hoffa. That's the reason I did. Like he was one of my favorite parts of the movie. Every scene he was in, he was like, "You're late." It's like, what? There was traffic. That doesn't matter. You leave earlier. You're late. The late scene was why I really, because he showed that emotion about staying calm. He showed the leadership that Jimmy Hoffa had, and like that big wig weight. It was
Absolutely.
between him and Joe Pesci for 1, and then I wanted Anthony Hopkins as number 2 because I watched the big conversation scene, and I'm like, Anthony Hopkins, he who.
We
But-
all have Anthony Hopkins as our second pick.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter. So Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, again, I compared their best scenes, and your late scene is probably his
Oh,
best.
it's so good.
It's great. But then Brad Pitt beats the crap out of a hippie.
Brad Pitt beats up a hippie, therefore number 1. I agree, for 1. I loved Brad Pitt in this movie, and I think he was the main driving force of why I liked the movie so much.
Same.
But I don't know if the Academy is going to take the Tarantino fun into account, or if they're going to be like, oh, this is a very serious, I'm voting for this one. You know what I mean?
And I
Yeah.
think a person in a Tarantino movie who won would be Christoph Waltz, I believe, for Inglourious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a very campy character in that movie.
But
Yes, he is.
Christoph also did a lot better, in my personal opinion, than Brad Pitt did this year. Because I think Christoph Waltz's character and the way it was written and performed was like stellar.
Fantastic,
Like one
yeah.
for the
Oh,
ages.
yeah.
I still love Brad Pitt in this movie. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know if that's going to definitely win it. But
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much buzz behind it that I'm going for it.
I feel like any of the first 3 could really, really take it. And even
Absolutely.
Joe Pesci, because he did a fantastic job as
He
well.
did. He really did. All right, guys. Best actress. I'm picking Judy and Renee Zellweger. Again, it's purely driven off who won in the guilds, so I'm picking her.
I picked Charlize Theron because I think that's a lock. I really do think that's a lock. She
picked
did fantastic.
I picked Saoirse Ronan for Little Women.
Yeah.
She also did a really good job.
She's 24 years old, and I think this is her 4th or 5th Best Actress / Supporting Actress nomination.
Yeah, didn't she get nominated for Lady Bird?
Yeah.
Yep.
I have not seen Harriet yet.
Harriet.
But
Cynthia Erivo's great in it.
I would assume that it's fantastic. This is the kind of year where every single one, if any of them win, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I
Like,
completely
that's
agree.
understandable.
All
I'm the
fantastic.
only one who's seen all 5 of these movies, and I can say
Confessed.
with full confidence, this is a hard category to pick. They're all
Absolutely.
amazing.
Oh yeah, no, they were absolutely
They're
all
fantastic.
fantastic. I really, really like Charlize Theron. I think she did a fantastic job. She looks, again, we mentioned she looks just like it. Saoirse Ronan would not be mad if she won at all. She did fantastic. I think the thing that deterred me from picking her as my second or even first was the fact that Scarlett Johansson acted just to absolute pure rage during Marriage Story, and that was perfect. That
And then we
movie,
have-
I think both. I picked both of those, both of the
You
Marriage
did.
Story people, because the acting in that movie is the best part.
Oh, my personal favorite is ScarJo in Marriage Story. I think that
Yeah,
I'm
oh,
surprised
yeah.
that she's not winning all the other nominations and categories.
well.
Because her in that was fantastic.
Well, speaking of
Speaking
Marriage
of
Story,
that, Adam Driver for Marriage Story.
Adam Driver,
for
come
Best
on,
Actor.
he was great.
Yes, Mud and I picked him as our number 1.
Jake, you have joking.
Jake, you have Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh, I have Joaquin Phoenix because I think he's going to win.
Me and Mud picked Adam Driver for
Yeah,
number
we
But
did.
ones.
my
He is
favorite
great.
is Adam Driver in
Oh,
Marriage Story.
100%. I think he did
He's
fantastic.
my favorite, and I picked him to win because he punched a wall.
He did punch
yeah, amateur drywall removal. He did
Exactly.
fantastic. Oh my god, this is the year of Adam Driver.
Yes, it
I
is.
think he is phenomenal. I saw him in Star Wars and he was great. I saw him in Marriage Story and he was phenomenal. He was the only reason The Report was any fun at all because he's great at
is.
acting. It's him. It's Adam Driver. If he doesn't win this, I'll actually be mad, even
Within,
though
like-
I think that everyone else also deserves it.
Within like 2 or 3 years, Adam Driver has like rocketed to A-list status.
Oh,
And
he
not
has.
just because of Kylo Ren. He's picked these crazy good roles.
Yeah,
Yes.
and he is crazy good in them.
Yes,
Yeah.
he is.
And the Joaquin Phoenix pick, sorry, is very, very smart because he's best actor in a bunch of other stuff he's been in.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very smart to pick. That's why I have that as my fail-safe number 2.
Yep,
Also, did a great job.
he did.
I
He
went
did
with
fantastic.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
You did.
I think Brad Pitt outshined him, and
I
that's.
agree.
I don't know. I
But he's
really
so
like
great.
DiCaprio in this. I
I
more
think
than Brad
DiCaprio
Pitt.
was also really, really good, but I think Brad Pitt as a whole outshined him. The best DiCaprio scene's better than the best Brad Pitt scene, but there are more better Brad Pitt scenes.
I fully agree with Ian.
Fair enough. And now we get into it. The one big boy category.
I think we've all swapped.
Yeah, we have.
Because I think you started with Jake's pick.
Well, why don't we just
I-
start and say? Why don't we say? I have 1917.
I have The Irishman.
I have Parasite.
Okay.
So, what did you start with?
Ford versus Ferrari.
Oh, God.
But I think I eventually that was just like my knee
Yeah,
jerk
that was your, like,
and
I
then
need
I
to do
switched
this.
to 1917. Then I switched to JoJo.
I had Irishman for the longest time.
I had Parasite for the longest time.
So we all just picked each other.
So we've all rotated.
We've all
rotated.
rotated. The second Jake went off The Irishman, I'm like, mine.
And then like a day later, I was like, oh,
me on
Parasite's
Parasite.
available.
Mud, you've
Yeah.
had Ford v Ferrari, JoJo, Joker.
But half of the movies.
I think they're all great.
They are all
okay?
great in his defense.
I think out of the movies here, if we could, I'm gonna take a small detour. If you could like knock Once Upon a Time in Hollywood off and put The Lighthouse up here,
You don't have to.
It'd be
It's-
great.
You don't have to.
It's up to 10. You
It's
can
up
add
to 10.
Lighthouse.
This is-
Oh,
9.
just put The Lighthouse in here. It's the best movie that
It is
came
the
out
best movie.
ever.
Absolutely.
Not ever, but it's up there. It's up there. Don't get me wrong, but it is so good. It is the best movie that came out this year.
It is a
for
damn
sure.
near masterpiece.
I
Not
think
a
it is.
masterpiece.
I think it's just a masterpiece.
It just is. I want to watch it as many times as I possibly can.
Is that on digital?
Yes, it is. We can watch it.
Oh, it's coming.
Oh, it's coming. Yeah. So best picture. Right now we have.
This is such a hard category.
It's absolutely
because
difficult.
every one of these movies.
This is the first year where I've been watching the Academy Awards where I'm like, man, I actually think all of these could win.
Last year, it was like, wow, this can't win, this can't win, this can't win. Green Book can't win, but then it did.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the heck?
That's
Green
the thing.
Book. Here's the thing. Green Book won because it was not on our radar. It was not in the this has to win or the this can't win
Yep.
category that we had decided on. Green Book was literally in the middle where it's like, I don't
That's a
know.
And I'll
movie.
tell you why I came off The Irishman after a long time, and that's because 1917 won the best picture at what's the other thing?
SAG,
SAG. It won SAG or
Screen
some-
Actor Guilds.
It might have been producers. Producers is best picture. So I think it won the Producers Guild Award. And the year before, which is 2018 best movies, Green Book won that award before the Oscars came out. So I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, history's repeating itself. I need to go 1917. I think it's
I
going to
can't wait for history to not repeat itself.
I was really, really happy when Jake dipped off The Irishman.
I know.
Because that was the movie that I was like, okay, if I'm the Academy of old white people, I'm loving The Irishman
Yep.
and Martin Scorsese.
I don't know which one of
That's
these
what
is
I
my
was doing.
favorite. It's either Irishman or Parasite. Probably Parasite.
I think Parasite's the best movie on here,
Based
personally.
on my list, my top 10 list, it would be Parasite and JoJo would be my two favorites.
Yeah.
I loved Irishman so much.
I also
though.
loved Irishman
I also
so much.
loved Irishman. I also loved Little Women and Marriage Story.
Yeah,
and
I
Once
also
Upon a Time
loved
in
all those
Hollywood.
movies. The thing when Jake leaves The Irishman, I go, boy, this got nominated for a lot of stuff, and is a Scorsese film, and is a 3.5-hour movie that felt like it went by in an hour 45.
I'm fairly confident that I'll win Best Director for Sam Mendes' 1917.
Well, all of us picked it, so yeah.
yes. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. But
Yeah, you're gonna win that
I
one.
like Jake completely forgetting what everyone picked.
yeah,
good point.
I'm gonna win Best Director, idiots. We also
only
picked
I
that.
am, because I'm the best picker of all time. But
Um,
those are our general categories.
Mud, you didn't talk about Parasite. Why'd you pick Parasite?
Because it's amazing.
It is really good.
Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, when you were like, oh, I picked Parasite, I was like, I should have picked Parasite. And then you were like, I'm going to switch off Parasite. And I was like, you fool.
Yeah, excuse me, but
No.
The Irishman
I
exists.
strongly disagree.
I feel like the Academy is going to look at Parasite and be like, yes, no, best international film, good job. Best other stuff, good job.
But
Go,
Scorsese.
Scorsese, you made a movie?
Exactly. Ian has a great point. as
I
far
have
as
a
that goes.
I have a point.
It's a fantastic point.
I think
But even further to that
If
point,
I'm the
I'd argue
Academy-
1917 because, ooh, it's a war movie. Ooh, win. I don't know. Plus, it's the one shot. It's impressive, technically. So.
It is definitely technically impressive, but I think the de-aging might also be a big factor.
I know.
With Best Picture.
This is a
'Cause I think
toss-up.
this is the gold standard of
This is.
de-aging, like de-aging technology in film
Absolutely.
so far. I know they completely reanimated Peter Cushing, but
Yeah, but
That's
they
not de-aging.
that's not de-aging. That's a full CG.
They
They
didn't
literally
really,
just de-aged faces with like the triple shot camera
Yup.
and the infrared. It's so interesting to
They
see how
didn't
they
put
did
anything
that.
on their faces.
Yeah, that is so technically impressive. Oh my god, when I watched like the how it's done, I was like, oh, I'm so mad Jake has this. And then he took it off like 2 days after I watched it, and I'm like, yes.
Bada bing, baby.
I was like, finally.
Did you watch it in one sitting or two?
The whole Irishman? I watched the Irishman in one sitting.
Oh, wow.
But I watched the how they did the de-aging thing, and then 2 days later you took that off, and I'm like, yes, mine.
It took me like, I'd spent like an entire night and day watching parts of it, like sleeping in
That's day
between.
and night.
You know what I mean? Like Cuddy.
The fun thing is, I watched the last 30 minutes of The Irishman before I watched the entire Irishman with Jake, because Jake was finishing it on a Saturday morning when I got there. I got there, and I'm like, oh, what's this? He's like, the last 30 minutes of The Irishman? Hey, I probably won't
It
spoil
was
anything.
just old Robert De Niro.
It was just old Robert De Niro. The last 30 minutes, awesome. Then I was like, oh, I'll watch the whole movie. And then I got back to the last 30 minutes, I'm like, this is even better now.
Yes. Out of
so
context,
good.
it works. That's weird, but it does.
It's
no movies
so
really do
good.
that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the
I
last 30 minutes works on its own.
I absolutely love every single Best Picture nominee. This is the first year ever that I've seen all of them.
Yep.
For one.
I'm really excited.
And for two, all of them are such good movies.
And in one day, we will find out the winner.
Me.
Me.
Full confidence.
Yeah,
Me.
oh, no, yeah, okay, Mud and Jake, calm down.
Got
It's
'em.
not me. I won last year, so
No, you didn't.
I know.
I
won last year.
No, I won last year.
No, you didn't.
I'm me.
You won all the points. None of us got Best Picture last year.
I won the pot because I had the most
You
points.
did. You got the most points.
Yes,
However,
shut up.
2 years ago, Shape of Water, I called that winning and I got it.
Yeah, no, you
So,
did get that.
Right now, I'm 1 for 2.
But that year Mud wasn't there though, so I don't know if
You
that
guys
counts.
didn't know me when that happens.
true.
Also, that year Phantom Thread won awards I didn't think it deserved because it was boring and dumb.
Exactly.
But you know,
Yeah.
that's my personal opinion on the bad movie.
So I'm really excited for this year.
I'm also really excited for this year.
It's
Me
one day
too.
away, baby. One more day.
We get to sit in Mud's living room right next to the Live, Laugh, Love thing and wait out the Oscars
Absolutely.
for 4 hours or however long it is.